Listen, the glory of the Lord is just in this house. I could feel it when I walked through the door. So can we just worship right before the word? Anybody come expecting? Let's just worship him. God, we love you. Come on, just take a few seconds just to worship him. Listen. You, Lord, you are worthy, and no one can worship you for me. For all the things you've done for me, and no one can worship you for me. I love this next part. It just says this. Here's my worship, all of my worship. Receive my worship, all of my worship. Let's go back to the top. You, Lord, you are worthy, and no one can worship you for me. Has he done anything for anybody? For all the things you've done for me, and no one can worship you for me. Can we grab this part right here? Here's my worship. Here's my worship. Hallelujah. All of my worship. Receive my worship. All of my worship. Let's sing it again. Come on, sing it. Here's my, all of my worship. All of my worship. Receive my worship. All of my worship. And I will not be silent. I will always worship you. You know why? As long as I am breathing, I will always worship you. Can you sing that with me? Sing, I will not be silent. And I will, not be silent. I will always worship you. Anybody grateful for breath this morning? As long as I am breathing, I will always worship you. Can we sing it again? Come on, real strong. Come on. And I will not be silent. I will always worship you. Come on, somebody worship. As long as I am breathing, I will always worship you. Come on, real strong, sing, here's my worship. Here's my worship. All of my worship. Somebody sing, receive. Receive my worship. All of my worship. Come on, let them receive it. Let them receive it. Right before the word, come on, pastor's about to bring a mighty and strong word. Come on, I dare somebody right here that came with expectation. Somebody that knows that shift happens. I looked at that thing since I got here. Come on, I dare somebody to allow God to shift things even in our worship. Come on, right here, I dare somebody to lift up worship. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Receive my worship. All of.
If you could go with me to Isaiah 40. Isaiah 40. Help me out on the monitors. Isaiah 40. You get there. You get there. Amen. Amen. And could you do me a favor? When it says, when they opened the book, the people stood. They didn't have to ask them to stand. Just the power of the book being open prompted people to stand in reverence. So if you got strength in your legs, I would like for you to stand this morning in reverence. One of the things that the church needs to do, the church needs to copy the world. I know I'm gonna get in trouble. I'm gonna get text. The world has so much reverence for the things of God that we have become complacent with. The world walk past the church and take their hat off. The world is certain things, but we have become so familiar with the things of God that we lost our reverence for the things of God. I want to acknowledge Brother Dion Millhouse. He was a young boy years ago, Georgia Avenue, I believe it was. He came in late one night, him and his buddy, they walked past the church. They said, we're going to step in that church. They were on their way to do something very unchurched, but they stepped into the back of the church and his life got changed that night. Yeah. And his former wife passed away. And we reconnected, man, but God has blessed him because of that decision he made that night. Good to see you. Good to see you, sir. Amen. Listen, Isaiah 40, beginning at verse 1, it simply reads, comfort my people, says our God. Comfort them. Encourage the people of Jerusalem. Tell them they have suffered long enough, and their sins are now forgiven. I have punished them in full for all their sins. Let me say that again. Let me read that again. Comfort my people, says our God. Comfort them. Encourage the people of Jerusalem. Tell them they have suffered long enough, and their sins are now forgiven. I have punished them in full for all of their sins. I want to talk for a few moments. We've been in this series, Shift Happens, all summer. I want to challenge the redeemed of the Lord to assist with the shift. I want to challenge you all to assist with the shift. I want to show you, I asked myself the question a few weeks ago. We had 17 shootings in one night. One of the young men that was murdered was eulogized on yesterday. He came up in our daycare, and the family has been a part of our family, our church family, for years. And I wondered, what is it that is not happening? What is it that is not happening? And we all know that the Bible is very clear that if my people, who are called by my name, will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, heal their lands, and forgive their sins. We know that the world, the things that are, some of the challenges that are going in the world is
is because of the lack of church fulfilling their responsibilities. And I said, could the prolonged bondage that the world is in be because the church needs to change its behavior? I'm just asking myself questions. In Isaiah, you see a shift in Isaiah in the messages as you go through the book of Isaiah. You see from chapter 1 through 39, it's a judgment and condemnation. There's a message in the first 39 chapters that is a message of judgment and condemnation. There's a message that you done messed up and now you're going to get what you deserve. There's a message that you were warned that God, these are God's people. He is chastening his people. He said, I tried to keep you from having to deal with this judgment and this condemnation. He says, I sent you pre-exilic prophets to warn you to get yourself together. If you don't get yourself together, you're going to find yourself in bondage. But you were hard-headed. You continue to do the things that you wanted to do, doing things the way you wanted to do. And now in Isaiah, you are getting what you deserve. Now, I know a lot of times we don't want to deal with that aspect of God, but many of us, some of the things that we had to deal with, we deserve. Many of us got ourselves into our own situations because we did not heed the warnings and the heads up that God was trying to send us. And in Isaiah, he tells them for the first 39 chapters, there is judgment and condemnation. Then there's a shift. In chapter 40, the shift it shifts to consolation and restoration. Consolation, comfort received by a person after a long loss or disappointment. The first 39 chapters, there's judgment. You're getting what you deserve. You're being punished. But in chapter 40, there's a shift. The same God that punishes you now shifts. And he's now comforting you, watch this, and he's bringing about restoration. These are people that have spent years in captivity due to the lack of obedience and their iniquity. But God now is preparing to bring them out of an extended stay in exile. They were in exiles to the Babylonians. They was in exiles to a people that they used to conquer. See, because they were in exile to what they used to be able to control, but now it was controlling them. And I know we're talking about Babylonians, but I remember when I used to be able to take a hit or two and go home and go to work in the morning. But after taking a hit or two, then it started controlling me. When I used to be able to be a social smoker, now I'm only going to talk to those that you are, because sometimes if we continue to dip and dab, we'll find ourselves being controlled by what we used to dip and dab with. And here these Assyrians, these Babylonians are controlling them, those that they used to be able to snap their fingers and control, and now they are in captivity. But God is preparing to return them to their homes. God is personally coming to get them and bring them out of captivity. God is personally coming to break. And guess what? And God is not going to have to break them out. They're not going to have to dig out. They're not going to have to climb out. They're not going to have to sneak out. Because when God brings you out, he delivers you, and all you have to do is walk out. I'm telling you. Matter of fact, many of us have been trying to pick the proverbial locks of addiction. We've been trying to pick the proverbial locks of pain and suffering. But God says you don't have to pick the lock. I'm personally coming to deliver you. You don't have to. I'm not going to deliver you under the cover of dark. I'm not going to wait till everybody is asleep, because I'm not threatened by what used to terrorize you. Oh God, I'm trying to get y'all to understand. When God comes in, he walks right through the front door and he delivers you in front of your haters. Oh God, he delivers you in front of the people that didn't want to see you delivered. He shows you off in front of the people that showed off on you. He delivers them, and he said, because whom the Son sets free is free indeed. So you don't have to be ashamed about what you've done, because if you're ashamed about what you've done, and if you're ashamed about being free, many of us suffer from survivor's remorse. We feel guilty about surviving. We feel guilty about overcoming. We feel guilty about being delivered, and then we spend all of our freedom explaining our release. Oh, God. We spend all of our time trying to explain how we got. Matter of fact, I don't even know how I got out. He says, I don't even know how God did it, but all I do know is he did it. Matter of fact, is that anybody's testimony? I don't know, because I should be dead, sleeping in my own grave, but God delivered me. I was sinking deep in sin, far from the distant shore, but the master, okay, I need somebody in here to understand. I ain't got time to explain my release now that I'm free. I got to walk out, because he delivered me for a purpose. He delivered me for a people. He delivered me for a city. He's God. All I know is I looked up one day and the door was open. Matter of fact, can I get y'all about 5 seconds? Just look up. The door is open. That's why the psalmist says, lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, you everlasting doors, so that the King of glory shall come in. Matter of fact, the only thing that's keeping you from getting the revelation that the door is open is because your life realities has kept you with your head down. But I come to encourage somebody to lift up your head so that he can come in. He wants to deliver you. He wants to set you free. He wants to release you. But you got to lift up your heads so that you can see what the Lord is doing. You got to lift up your head. You got to lift up. I don't care how long it's been down. Today we lift our heads. I don't care how long you've been in bondage. Today we change our perspective. I don't care how long you've been unemployed. Today we lift our heads. He wants to come in. Matter of fact, look over at your neighbor and tell him he wants to come in. He wants to heal you. He gets no glory out of you suffering. He gets no glory out of you living beneath your privileges. He gets no glory out of you being complacent. He gets no glory. God is preparing to shift. Oh, God, he's getting changed. God is preparing to shift. And just when you thought there was no possible for a shift, I come to encourage you that shift happens. I come to encourage you. Just when folk told you you missed your window of opportunity, God says, no, the window is still open. When folk told you you are too old, Sarah and Abraham, God says you still are fruitful. When folk told you you have a criminal record and you don't have access to what others have access to, he says no good thing will I withhold from those that walk upright before me. He never said how long you had to be walking upright. At the moment you get tired of living a bent over life, you got access to the same thing that those been walking upright all along. He says the servant that came to work in the last hour of the day got paid the same. But now what God is doing, God is getting ready to shift. He's ready to shift those that have been in bondage. He's getting ready to shift them from bondage to blessings. He's getting ready to shift them from a place of captivity to a place of being more than a conqueror. And God's shifting these people from bondage to abundance. He says one of the challenges that occur when God is doing this is that the church doesn't know how to assist the shift. The church hasn't figured out how to help God do what God is doing in your community. The church is so caught up with doing this that they don't know how to do that. And he's trying to assist the ship. It reminds me of our returning citizens that have been released from years of bondage who show up at the church looking for someone who is warm and welcoming, only to be frowned upon and forsaken. So many of you say, okay, Pastor, we got it. We're ready to shift. We're ready to assist. We're ready to get our hands dirty. We're ready to do what God, we're ready to help those. And he says, and you're asking me a relevant question. I got some theologians, I got to make sure I got my relevant question. You know what I'm saying? We learned that in Virginia Union. He asked them a relevant question. How do you assist the shift? Evangelist Lanisha, I got my relevant question. He says the first thing the first thing you can do in helping me assist those that I'm going to do a shift is the first thing you can do is remember your struggle. I know, y'all want to hear that. We got too many folk that putting their hands in handling people, but they done forgot their real struggle. And he says, before you can help anybody else with their struggles, you got to remember just how tore up from the floor up you used to be. You got to remember where you were when God found you. He didn't found you with that three-piece on. He found you begging for a three-piece outside the Popeyes. And some of us have forgotten what God has done for us. For some of us, success has desensitized us from causing us to become insensitive to those who are in the struggle. Matter of fact, y'all don't want to hear that. Success has caused us to be desensitized to the struggles of others, and we are insensitive to those that are still in what God brought us through. Matter of fact, I need somebody in here that God didn't just bring you through just for you. He brought you through so that you can be the proof that if he did it for me, oh my God, he can do it. Matter of fact, is there anybody in here that God has brought you through some things? He brought you under some things. He brought you over some things. It wasn't just for you. He said, I need you to overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the words of what God has already brought you through. When I think of God's goodness and all that God has done for me, he brought me through danger seen and unseen. And when I know that I was in a horrible pit and I sought the Lord and he heard me and he delivered me from all of my fears. And when God does it, can't nobody take credit for it. Look at your neighbor and say, don't forget the struggle. Don't forget where you used to be. Don't forget where you were when God sought you. Don't you forget how broke down you were. You got to remember that you have not always been the haves. You used to be the have-nots. There go, but for the grace of God, there go I. And we got to have too many people that have forgotten the struggle, that don't know how to handle people that are going through a struggle because we have become desensitized and we've forgotten. He said that's why pain sometimes is so important. It keeps you present with the promise. Paul said, God, take this thorn from me. Paul said, no. God said, no, because you handle that text too good. You an eloquent writer. You have good speech. You too gifted for me to take this thorn. If I take this thorn, you might get beside yourself. I need something that reminds you of your struggle, oh God. So some of the things, the reason why God doesn't take it is because God is trying to help us be humble. He's trying to help us in what he's called us to do. Paul, you handle that pen too, where even in prison you can write a letter that'll deliver people from prison. Even while you going through stuff, he says, I got to keep a thorn on you because you might start prostituting what you got. You might start over commercializing with the gift that's on your life. So I got to keep a thorn to remind you of just how far you have come. Because when I found you, you were on your way to commit a murder, but you was on the road to Damascus. So I had to knock you you off your ass. Knock you off your donkey so you can hear me clearly. And sometimes the only way God can get your attention is he got to knock you off your ass. So some of us mad because we've been knocked off our ass, but you don't know that was God's doing. Because you was on your way to do something that was going to put you away for life, and God stopped you so he could change your life. I got to go. All right, here we go. I got to go. I still got some crabs left from yesterday. I got to go. Here it is. What do we do? The first thing you got to do is you got to remember your own struggles. You got to remember what you still dealing with sometimes. You got to remember that how God handled you with care when nobody else cared. You got to remember. And then once you remember your struggles, then I need you to go remind them that hardship doesn't change the relationship. It's in the text. It's in the text. I don't want them going back down to 757 and tell them that I'm not in the text. It's in the text. He says, I need you to remind them that hardship doesn't change the relationships. Verse 1 says it like this: comfort my people, says our God. Comfort them, give them consolation. Remind them that no matter how much you've gone through, it doesn't change who called you. No matter how far. He says, what I want you to tell them is that where you are doesn't negate who you are. Okay, I need somebody to catch this. He said, no matter what you've done, you are still his son. You still belong no matter how much you've done wrong. Here you go. Let me see if I can help you with Psalms 139. He says, where can I go from your presence, O God? Or where can I flee from your presence? If I ascend to the heavens, wow, you are right there. If I watch this, he said, if I make my bed in hell, you there too. If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost part of the sea, even you there shall lead me. If I find myself slipping up and making a mistake, you are right there. Here it is. He says, here he goes. He says, God, no matter what you've done, he says, it doesn't change the relationship. Adam, where are you? I'm looking for you because there's a relationship here. And it's for better or for worse. I'm coming to look for you because what you've done don't change you from being a son. I'm coming to find you, and I'm not calling you based upon what you did. I'm calling you who I created you to be. Maybe that's why some of our loved ones, some of our sons, some of our husbands, some of our daughters are not responding. It's because we're not calling them who they were created to be. We calling them based upon what they've done. Crackhead, come in. I'm not responding because even when I was cracked out, I was still his son. Even when I was sleeping behind the liquor store, I was still his son. Even when I got shot multiple times, I was still his son. Matter of fact, can I tell somebody that the only reason why you here today is because you were still his son? The only reason why you here today because you were his son and you went to a far off country. He says goodness and mercy follow him. I need goodness and mercy to follow you because one of these days you're going to come to yourself. And when you come to yourself, I'm going to come running to you. And many of us today, if it had not been for goodness and mercy following us into the crack house, into the whole house, into the dungeon, God, it don't change the relationship. It don't change the relationship. I don't care how long you've been in it. It don't change. It don't change the relationship. It don't change the relationship. Oh, God. Oh, God. Thank you for loving me. Yeah. I got to go. Got to go. Here it is. He said, remind them that it don't change the relationship. Second thing I need, those of you that are the haves, got a little success now. is make sure that you are a motivator and not an instigator. Make sure that you are a motivator and not an instigator. Here you go. I need you to remind them what they have and not what they lost. Because everybody say they trying to help somebody, but you can't pile on and pick up at the same time. Many of us are piling on. They already, the world done already kicked them to the curb, and here we go piling on. We are supposed to be those that lift you when you've been left out. Here you go. Here go my next one. I just got two more. He says, use your platform to promote faith and not to provoke fear. That's the next one. Here we go, next one. Focus on the favor and not on the failure. Focus on the favor and not on the failure. I'm trying to help y'all win somebody. Okay, let me say, concentrate on the call, not the fall. Here it is. This is what God told. Let me say, He says, I want you when you go to my people, after you done remember your struggle and remember how grace and mercy was following you, and remember how far down in the hole I had to get you when I delivered you. I need you when you handling those that I'm doing a shift from bondage to blessings. I need you when you deal with them, focus on the favor and not the failure. Okay. He said, this is what I want you to do. This is in the text. He said, tell them they have suffered long enough. He says, and now they are forgiving them. I have punished them all I'm going to punish them. That's the favor. Don't go back talking about what they did to get in bondage. Don't keep beating them up about what they did. Focus on who God is and the favor that's on your life. As a matter of fact, I want to help, because too many times we want to beat people up from these pulpits, telling them about what they've done. I know what I've done. That's why I'm here. I know what I've done. That's why I'm sitting in the back with my head down, because I want help, but I don't want people to know that I'm hurt. He says, I don't need you to keep telling me what I did. I still got a hangover. I know what I did. Focus on the favor that God still loves you. Focus on the only reason why I'm here is because God sent me to you. I tried to help somebody. He said, tell them I have punished them long enough. Here go the last one, and we're going to get out of here. Your communication should be a declaration of restoration. It's really just evangelism 101. I just wanted to help somebody. He needs you to assist the shift, and your communication should be a declaration of restoration. He says, tell them that the storm is over. Just tell them that the struggle is over for you. Tell them that I know you've been in it long enough. Tell them that the struggle is over. Even when they got liquor on their breath, you tell them, because it's a declaration. I'm speaking those things that be not as though they are. They don't need you to tell them about what you see and what you smell. They need you to tell them what God says about. That's why when he led Ezekiel into the valley, he set them down in his facts. They were dead. The bones were dry. And he says, God didn't go sit them in the green pastures. He led them and he set them down in his facts. And he said, tell me what you believe about these facts. He says, I don't even know what I believe. He said, that's good. That's the first thought. Only say what I say. And what God was telling them, he says, I don't care how bad things look. I want you to speak to them in the eyes and tell them the struggle is over. God, I don't know. My mother used to walk in my room. I used to be out for 8, 9, 10 days, strung out. I would come in smelling like everything I've been, and my mother would come in and call me a preacher. You are an overcomer. She would pour oil on my feet. She would put oil on my lips. I'm trying to sleep, and my mother was declaring restoration. Declaring that it won't end like this. And that's what God sent me all the way over here today to say. He wanted to encourage somebody that if we, the church, are ready to assist the shift, it don't have to end like that. Jeremiah, can you help me real quick? The struggle is over. We're going to get out of here.
The struggle is over for you. The struggle.
This is the declaration that we leave this week with.
Struggle.
No matter how long that child has been struggling, I want you to speak it all week long. The struggle is over. My communication is a declaration of restoration. I'm speaking only what God tells me to speak over your life. I'm not beating you up, I'm building you up. I'm not tearing you up, I'm transforming you with the word of God over your life.
The struggle is over for you.
I speak to every person on our virtual space. I need you to put it in the chat. The struggle is over. The struggle is over. The struggle is over. I need those of you all that have loved ones that you've been interceding for and you've been challenged. You don't know what about their situation. I need you to get on your feet and I need you to rehearse what you're going to say all week. The struggle is over.
The struggle
come on. I need you to hear me. Come on, come on.
The struggle is over for you. The struggle is over. Yes, the struggle
I can't hear you.
is over for you. The struggle is over. The struggle is over. The struggle is over. The struggle is over for you.
I decree it. I declare it in this house.
It's over.
And
Struggle.
the only way that what God is declaring will become your destiny is you got to receive it. Can you believe that the struggle is over? Let it be unto you according to what your faith. The struggle is over. I'm believing it for you. I'm believing it for your son. I'm believing it for your daughter. I'm believing it for your husband. I'm believing it for your wife. The struggle is over. I believe it. I don't have to wait until the battle is over. I can shout right now because the struggle is over.
It's over for you.
Come on, one big choir. Let me hear you declare it.
Yeah, the struggle is over.
On virtual space, I want to see it in the chat. The struggle is over. I won't die. I'm going to live to see it happen.
The struggle.
I'm going to live to see it happen. I'm going to live to declare the goodness of the Lord.
The struggle is over. Yeah. The struggle is over for you. The struggle is over. Yeah. The struggle is over for you. The struggle is over. You gotta believe it. The struggle is over for you. The struggle is over. The struggle is over for you. The struggle is over. struggle is over. The struggle is over. Yes, the struggle is over for you. The struggle is over.
The struggle is over.
The struggle is over.
The struggle is over. The struggle is over. The struggle is over.
The struggle is over.